All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive into kind of an overview of the charts and what I see going on. And I also want to kick things off by asking those of you who've just joined the Inner Circle group here and you're going through the lessons for the first time, because I've seen a lot of new faces in the community. If that's you, if you could just raise your hand or type in the chat and let me know, because I want to address some things that I've seen here in the group as well. Gosh, it's got lots of people still streaming in. Awesome. Bailey Antonovolo. I hope I got that right. Alex, great. Romaine, great. Cool. We're still got tons of people streaming in, so I don't want to start yet until we get uh almost everybody in here that we can, so people don't miss out on the beginning. Andy, good to see you. Lots of familiar faces. Bob, great to see you as well. Dennis, always a pleasure, my friend. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to do my best to let everybody in while I continue to talk. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. Glad you're here. This is this is one of the most exciting times in finance, certainly of my life, because of the juxtaposition between the FOMO and the excitement happening in crypto, the uncertainty happening in the general economy and in stocks. And stocks are really, and I'll address this in our December 1st market update. But for those of you who've been around a while, stocks are signaling all-time highs and that we're really in a bubble. Warren Buffett's got more cash sitting on the sidelines than ever in history in his entire career. And so it's kind of like you're heading up to the top of the roller coaster, right? When you're on the chains getting pulled up to the top and we're getting closer and closer to the peak, but we're just not exactly sure when that's going to be. And then we have the excitement that we're finally seeing here in crypto and that we've been waiting for 2 years, which is awesome. And I think this is ultimately all going to crescendo into a blow off top that is followed by one of the biggest crashes that we've seen since the Great Depression is what I'm predicting right now. The question is, when is that going to happen, and are we going to get the end of our bull run before that does? And while there's no guarantee, my guess is that the answer to that is yes. But obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. That's just my guess. So with that being said, let's go ahead. I'm going to fire up my screen share and we'll kind of take a look at what's going on in the charts. And I need to make sure I can still keep letting people in. Okay, so what we're looking at here is nothing too crazy. This is just the Bitcoin chart. This has been awesome. For those of you who've been around for a while, we've been waiting since March for this breakout to happen. And as soon as it did, I said we're going to break up above this thing. We're likely going to come back down and back test it because that's usual. And then it's off to the races. And boom, we've gone up and hit $93,000 in the past few days. Unbelievable. So we're looking at the weekly chart right now, and Bitcoin has gone up in less than 2 weeks, 37, 39%, 40%. In less than 2 weeks, guys. It's not Sunday yet. So pretty incredible. Roughly a week and a half, Bitcoin's gone up that much. And that is what a bull market feels like. And I'd be interested to know, because the most important part when it comes to crypto investing in the bull market is managing your emotions. This becomes the single hardest thing to do when you go into phase three, the parabolic phase of the bull run in crypto. So if you guys can feel free to drop things in the chat, some of the emotions that you've been going through, the last couple of days, I'd be really interested to know, and I think it'd be very valuable for everybody else here to be able to read, right? Is it FOMO? I don't have enough in. Is it scrambling to put more money into crypto? Um, are you buying at 93, 94K? Right? So is it what I've seen in the group is new members trying to scramble to figure out exactly, Alex, trying to scramble and figure out how to buy cryptos on decentralized exchanges, right? Hey, how do I get the peanut token? How do I get this other token? How do I get into the grass, right? Grass and peanut would be the two most recent. Um, so that kind of got me a little bit concerned because those are not tools and strategies that you want to use when you're in that type of mindset and when you're in a rush and when you're trying to chase something, which you should never want to do in general is chase anything. Um, but especially when it comes to DEXs, because the penalty for doing that wrong is you lose your crypto, right? You lose your money. And so that's something that you want to do slowly. And so I'm just going to recommend, I'm going to pull up the membership for you guys real quick. I've had a lot of questions as well. Hey, where is this? How do you do this? And all of the answers are in crypto, or excuse me, are in the crypto course. So this is the crypto course here, Mastery 101. This is a brand new lesson I just posted 2 nights ago. I didn't bother telling anybody about it because the first one was fine. This is just an updated version of it if you want to go through the basics here, learn how to use CoinMarketCap, 1Password, Google Authenticator, things like that. Got our buy and sell indicators. Then we have DEXs, how to use MetaMask specifically, and then how to use Solana DEXs over here. And if you're going to use DEXs, you also need to go through and make sure you go through the safety and wallet system videos and lessons as well. But these lessons will answer all of your questions and show you how to buy tokens on decentralized exchanges. And so before you ask me questions in the community, go through all of this information first, or I'm just going to tell you to go watch it. That's going to be my response, right? For those of you who didn't see it, I also put up this altcoin sell indicator lesson 2 days ago. So make sure you check that out. We can maybe take a look at that here as well. And so I just want everybody to kind of chill out because it's easy to chase this stuff right here. And so what's going to happen? What do I think is going to happen next? Well, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see this kind of come down a little bit and deflate because it's way too much, way too fast. And whenever you have this happen, you're always going to have something sell off, and then we're going to consolidate and probably go sideways again, and then pop up to 100K or over that. Cody says, Mike, there are normally two rise and dips in BTC. There are normally two rise and dips in BTC in the back end bull market. Back in the back end bull market from previous patterns. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Cody, but we'll do question Q&A here at the end. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Bitcoin come back down here into this range, probably into the mid 80s, maybe even the low 80s, have a little bit of consolidation, and then make a play for 100K by the end of the year over the next 6 weeks. Now, where it goes from there, I'm just going to go ahead and share a chart with you guys. So let me change my screen share. From a trader that I really respect and that I've followed for a very long time, lifelong trader, 30 plus years of experience. And it's Peter Brandt, for those of you who follow Peter on X or Twitter, you can follow him there. But very conservative, older gentleman, probably in his 60s, been doing this forever, doesn't fall for stupid stuff, can't be manipulated, and just follows his own technicals. And so what he's showing here is two different patterns. This is a cup and handle pattern right here. So you've got the cup, and then you've got the handle, and then you've got the extension on half of that, and then you've got an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So an upside down head and shoulders. So shoulder here, head here, shoulder here. And these patterns would basically show a potential top at 134 or 327, which is awesome. So that, I think, is right in line with what I've been looking at. I've been thinking we're going to top between 125 and 145 this cycle, or if that happens fairly quickly, then we could top significantly higher than that in the 250 to 350 range. And so this kind of confirms both of those for me. And so let's see here. I'll reshare my screen. how would we figure out what that would potentially be? Well, for me, I'm coming over to into the cryptoverse and I'm looking at ROI after halving. So you guys have been in the group. You've all seen this chart 100 times. These are the previous cycles of Bitcoin and its performance after the halving event. So the halving event right here is on day 0. This is how many days after the halving. And if we were to come back here, forget the first cycle in blue because that's not relevant given how small Bitcoin was at that point. But the last 2 cycles are relevant here in orange and red. And both of those cycles ended roughly 500, an average of 525, 530 days after the halving event. So the longest cycle here was 550 days. The next one was 524 days. That's how long the bull markets lasted. And right now we are at day 209. So we would have roughly 300 to 340 more days to go. So almost a year, essentially a year, November, December of next year, if this cycle played out like the last previous 2 of upwards action. Now you'll notice here we had an anomaly in the last bull run where we had kind of that double top. So we had that first one here and then almost a year later, the second one, right? So that makes it a little bit more tricky. And that brings me back to this second chart that I want to show you as well. Which is this. So if you guys have ever heard of the Wyckoff pattern, that's what this is right here. And as you can see here, followed it pretty darn quickly, right, coming out of here. So accumulation phase right here at the bottom, accumulation phase, phase 2, right here, and then phase 3, and then phase 4, trend continuation, etc. Sideways movement, following Wyckoff almost perfectly. So sideways here, and then we're getting up into the top echelons, right? And so this, if we were to see the Wyckoff take place, this is basically what had started happening in the last cycle when Wall Street came in. And so this is a method that Wall Street has been using for decades and decades and decades to manipulate markets. If you want to learn about the Wyckoff method, just do a ChatGPT on it. It's really fascinating stuff. And so this is what happened in the last cycle. And so could this happen in this cycle? Well, it's already happened on the bottom, so it certainly could happen on the top. And if it were to play out in a similar manner, we'd also be looking at a 145K top. So there's 2 to 3 indicators that are saying, hey, potential top around 140. And then there are some others that would blow through that in a pretty big way. And so I think a lot of it has to do with how quickly or how long this ends up taking. Or if we come up and we hit like 140 here pretty quickly, 125, 140 here in the next few months, and then we come down and maybe retest 100K, you know, we could hit like 140 like right here, right? Come down, sell off 100K, and then we could have a blow off top that's up in the 200 plus range towards the end of the year. I think all of this is completely dependent upon the macro economy and the stock market. So I think that's everything that will determine where we end up going. I really have no clue. We've just got to kind of keep an eye on things. If we were to look at the charts here on Bitcoin and our MACD, this is on the weekly, we've got our bullish crossover, which is super strong. And whenever there's a bullish crossover, you can see here, guys, like once this cycle starts here, it tends to last for quite a long time. So this is 14 weeks. Let these folks in. And that's one of the shortest periods. If we were to just count the upwards candles, the dark green candles, we're looking at about 11 weeks. So almost 3 months. Here we've got a little bit longer. So we're now in our 4th week upward. So it would suggest to me that we've got a few more weeks to go. This is really just getting started. RSI, we're starting to get into overbought territory, but this can last for a long time. And it will once we hit the peak here, as you can see here, peak of the last cycle. peak of the last mini bull run that we had this cycle back in March. And so everything is doing what it should be doing. Bitcoin is on track. It's doing everything that I would expect it to do at this point, which is great considering all of the other stuff that's going on in the economy. And I want to get to total 3. So let's bring up the altcoin market because this is where things have gotten super exciting. So if you're like me and you're heavy in alts, it's been a super not fun year since the peak in March, which was awesome. And then it's just been a straight bleed out until then. We had this basically wedge forming here. And as we talked about in the last market update, I said this wedge is going to break out either to the downside or to the upside, most likely the upside because where we are in Bitcoin and the rest of the cycle, and it'll explode higher. And that's exactly what happened a week and a half ago. On the MACD, we've got our bullish crossover here on the weekly, which is awesome and super strong. And so where could altcoins end up going from here? Well, if we just create a trend line over previous cycles, knowing each cycle is going to continue to get bigger, we've got a lot further to go, right? A lot further to go. And if we look at the time frame, I'm down at June, August, September, October, November. This is November right here, is where I'd expect this to end. Now, here's what's really cool. If you guys take a look at this right now, right? We're currently right here on the total 3, and we're not even back at all-time previous highs yet for the market cap, even though Bitcoin is already at previous all-time highs. So we're about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way there. And so if we were to go back to the cycle before that, that means we're roughly right here. Right now in this cycle, we'd be right here in the previous cycle, which is super exciting. And so lots of reasons to be optimistic about the future and about altcoin bags specifically. And then if we were to take a look at Bitcoin dominance, so we want Bitcoin dominance is continuing to go up. We want it to have its big break, and that's going to essentially signal alt season. When will that be? It's really impossible to say. As you guys can see here, it's kind of staying within this consolidation right here. Well, that doesn't work. And I'm not a technical TA guy. I'm very much an amateur at this. But it could continue going up until it finally breaks to the downside here sometime in July this summer, August could certainly do that. And then that would also make sense to signal the top of the bull market towards Q4 of next year. And we go into alt season. So what I want to bring up, because I think it's interesting to look at, is so what was the price of Bitcoin doing during these periods as well? All right, so last cycle, Bitcoin dominance broke down right here when Bitcoin was around 40K. And what I think is interesting is that the previous top of Bitcoin was 20K. I don't know if there's any real correlation here or not. It's just something I observed. But Bitcoin dominance really broke down and we went into alt season once the previous all-time high of Bitcoin doubled. So for us, that would be Bitcoin roughly at 140, 138, 140. And if it were to do the same thing, right, for the price of Bitcoin to double its previous cycle, dominance would break down. We'd go into alt season. So maybe that'll be the case, but something really interesting that I think is looking at. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you guys in crypto right now. And now I'd love to answer y'all's questions. So for those of you who are veterans or new, go ahead and use the little heart react button down at the bottom of your screen and use the raise your hand feature. And if you guys can raise your hand if you have questions, feel free to jump on and we'll talk about those. One thing that I'm going to send an email out later today on because it was posted in the group. Let me go to the chat. Share my screen with you guys one more time. All right, we had a good post here from Greg about Mango token. And it says, I missed something with Mango Token. When I look it up on CoinGecko, it says because of an SEC settlement, they're going to destroy all the Mango tokens and halt trading. This was dated September 30th, so roughly a month and a half ago. And then this was the link. And Mango, I put in my portfolio probably a year ago at this point. It was a Solana microcap token, probably well over a year ago at this point. And so that's what this document says here. And so if you go over to CoinMarketCap and look at Mango, I mean, it's certainly bled out like all the other alt microcap alts have over the past year. It had a nice little bump in March, and it's having a nice little bump right now, right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and sell my Mango tokens today. I bought it through a Solana DEX. It looks like it's also traded on Kraken, but that might not be the case for US residents. It's got very low volume on everything, Radium and Kraken. And so if you have Mango tokens, it's your decision, it's your money. What's really interesting is why is it pumping right now? And I've tried to look for verification of this information on their website and on their X account, and I haven't been able to find anything about it, which is really interesting. That article is talking about Mango Markets, and this is the Mango Markets page, and this is the Mango Markets verified Twitter page. And yet I haven't been able to find any information here about that news event. And let's just go back to September and see if I can find anything. Still in October. Okay. I just don't see any information on it, which has been really interesting. But anyway, make that decision. I'm probably going to sell my tokens, just moving into something else that I know is going to continue to do well in this cycle. And if you do know that because it has such low liquidity, 100 grand in volume, 583 on Kraken, that if you've got more than a few $1,000s in it, you're probably going to need to sell in allocations like a third, a third, a third. If not, you'll find with these low microcap tokens, what is the microcap on this? Market cap, $31 million. So ultra microcap token, ultra low microcap token. There's not a lot of liquidity. That's one of the risks of them until they really start to take off in a bull market, is that you might have to sell in allocations, or you'll say, hey, it's going to tank the price 10% or something like that. So for me, if it's 5% or less, I'll go ahead and sell. If it's more than that, then I'll divide it into certain allocations, and every like 5 minutes apart, I'll make my sells, and I'll do that. So just some information. I'm going to send out an email on this or post in the community later today. And with that being said, Caesar, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Mike. So I have a question about, usually real estate guys, they ask for loans to buy more properties, keep investing, right? So I'm not a real estate guy. I've been a crypto guy since 2020. Um, I'm kind of considering getting into conservative crypto-backed loans. I'm not talking about, something extremely, aggressive, probably 40% LTV, where I can still keep access to the underlying asset through keys, while the company issuing the loans does the same. So I mean, I'm pretty much talking about on-chain capital, right? So, which is one of the most
40% LTV is extremely risky, man. Like non-risky loan to value is 5%, 10%. 40%, no, like
It's
I would
risky.
not touch that. No.
Got it, got
And
it.
that's it. That's risky for Bitcoin. That's risky for Bitcoin. So yeah, I wouldn't go near 40% LTV. There's a lot of services that are going to be coming out here soon in mainstream finance, TradFi, that are going to help people unlock their value in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to become one of the most valuable assets in the world. There's already people who own billions and billions of dollars of it. And right now, their only way to really take value out of that is to sell it, which why would you want to sell an asset that's going up in value faster than any other asset on the planet? So the big thing here is to take out a loan against your Bitcoin, use that money to go buy other assets like real estate, and keep your Bitcoin forever, right? That's the wealth game plan that's forming right now, and that will continue to grow in popularity in the decade ahead. Um, but those options are going to become mainstream in the next 12 months. And right
Like
now with the
like
general,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
right now with the general economic climate that I'm looking at and expecting a big crash in those markets, I would personally, if it were me, I would not do that until we see where this cycle tops and then when it bottoms, right? I want to know where this cycle tops because that's also going to help me understand where it's going to bottom next cycle. Or we could just continue. This could be after the gold ETF launched. And after the gold ETF launched, it just went up and to the right at 45 degrees for 10 years.
In
And it
years,
never
yeah.
went through
I'm aware
another
of it.
cycle. So we could have that happen here as well. I just don't know. So my suggestion is just be very conservative with it. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. The goal here is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can and not lose it or spend it on anything. So I don't think there's any reason to take chances around that, especially right now. Like for me, when Bitcoin hits 500K, 300K, yeah, cool. Like then I'll take out 5%, 10% and buy some real estate, with that loan. But that's just me. So
Right. And you think that, institutions like BlackRock and so on and so forth are the ones that are going to be issuing these
yeah,
crypto-backed loans,
yeah.
but you're not going to have access to, basically you're going to need to move it into a vault where your keys are not going to be, you're not going to have access to these through your keys, or what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Uh, I mean, yeah, that will certainly be the case because they're going to want control over the collateral, right? For me, I don't really have an issue with buying shares of IBIT or the Bitcoin ETFs because at the end of the day, it's matching the price of Bitcoin, right? And so if I want physical, quote unquote, physical Bitcoin on a wallet, I just cash that out and then I just go buy Bitcoin on an exchange, right? So for me, I don't really care. Like we're going to put quite a bit of money between now and the end of the year in IBIT shares through our carry account. So our Roth 401k or mega backdoor Roth IRA, we're going to max that out here over the next month. And that's all going to be in IBIT shares. And I'm totally fine with that. Because if I want
And doing
physical
that
Bitcoin,
versus MicroStrategy and then loans from bikers and getting a loan from, doing the IBIT versus MicroStrategy and then getting a loan from, your shares of MicroStrategy.
you certainly
Would
could do
that,
that as well. Yeah. And I think MicroStrategy's long-term plan, from what I've seen Michael Saylor saying, is that he's going to turn MicroStrategy into a Bitcoin bank and provide these services, these same type of services. So, yeah.
got it. I trust them better than BlackRock. That's just
Me
me.
too. 100%. 100%. If I can have a choice between the two, I'm going with Sailor 100% of the time. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
great question, Caesar. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, Cody, go ahead, sir.
Um, so I have two questions. My first one is I've been putting a lot of my energy into my own exit strategy because I realize listening to a lot of Alex Becker, he's just like, that's where most people lose,
Yeah.
like exit strategy. Um, so I have two questions. One is, am I going to need to have a X amount of say ETH or USDC in my wallet for like when I want to swap out, and because I'll have to pay some gas fees.
Hmm.
Is that correct? Is that
Yeah.
going to be part of it?
Yeah, 100%, especially on ETH because the fees are going to be so high during the highest peak, right? You're going to see Ethereum trade fees go up to $50 plus.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's going to change rapidly by the hour. You'll want to do a transaction, it's going to say $75 gas fee, and then you'll come back 10 minutes later and it'll be like $15. And you're like, what in the world is going on? But that's just going to be how it is. So you know, if you're using Solana and ETH, a little bit of Solana, Solana, you're like good with $5 because the transactions are so cheap. With ETH, you know, $100 to $500 in ETH is plenty. All you really need to do at the end of the day is just make one swap instead of going to Tether or to USDC. Just make a little bit, swap it for ETH, right? Now you've got a ton of ETH,
Yep.
but you do need a little bit there at all times in those wallets in order to initiate those transactions. So yeah, just never, if you're going to do a swap, never swap 100% of your ETH for whatever token you're buying, because that leaves you with no ETH left. And that becomes a giant pain in the ass because you've got to send more to your wallet then and all this stuff, right? So yeah, it's a great point. And the biggest part about exiting, and the reason that Alex is talking about that is because it's the most important part of this, second most important part of this process. First one's buying low, second one's buying high or selling high. And you guys will find out because it's taken me 2 or 3 cycles to get through it. The hardest part about all of this is you know, last time the PiCycle top went off, indicator went off at 65K and nobody sold because nobody believed it. How could it not be going to 100K? And it didn't look like a blow off top. So there must be something wrong here. And, you know, we all held, and luckily we got a second bite at the apple, but that's not normal. That was very unusual. And when that second bite of the apple came through, there was not a PiCycle top indicator that went off. And so we all thought it was going to continue to go up. And I eventually sold, but I probably lost 30 to 40% of what my value was by the time I realized, okay, this is over, right? I still did really made millions of dollars, but I lost millions of dollars as well because I didn't listen to that indicator. And so the best thing to do is to not listen to people, listen to the charts, listen to the indicators. They don't have emotions. All they're doing is telling you what the market and the people in the market are doing outside of the emotional opinions that you're going to get on YouTube, X, and everywhere else. And the hard part about it is that when you're in that super exciting bull market thing and your portfolio is going up tons and tons every single day, it creates confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, I just made $100,000 in 24 hours. Why would I sell today? Right. I could make another $100,000 today. And, you know, the hard part about that is the emotional side. And you're going to find that the YouTubers who said, hey, it's going to peak at 140 are now going to say, no, it's now going to 250. Now it's going to 350. And they're never going to stop. And it's not their fault. They're dealing with the same psychological challenges that everybody in this market will. So for me, it's just watch the indicators, pay attention to those, and that's it. And if you just do that, you're so much well off than if you don't. You're not going to nail the top 100%, but you'll get within 80% of it, 90% of it. And so
with your learning, are you going to start taking, like, for example, like 20% like profit just before like the top of the pie chart indicator to ensure that you've got a good chunk of profit, and then write out, you know, the rest kind of thing? Do you do it in increments?
no, I'm going to do it after the PiCycle top indicator goes off. I'm going to start selling all of my altcoins and everything a little bit at a day, probably over the next 10 to 15 days.
So you'll dollar cost average out, essentially.
Like dollar cost average out. And, you know, if on the way up, if we go to 300K plus and, you know, altcoins do what I showed you guys on the charts earlier, and you've got, because I've already seen people in the group saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much, you know, X is up in my portfolio. I'm getting nervous. And I'm like, oh shit, if you're nervous now, man, it hasn't even started yet. And so it's really fascinating. Some people who are not used to having money, all of a sudden having money will make them very uncomfortable
Yeah.
and very nervous, and they're not used to that. And so what I would recommend is if you're find that your portfolio is in a place where you're like, I can't believe how much money I have right now, take some profit, sell 20%, sell 25%. And if you have critical bills like credit card debt or student loan debt, or a mortgage, something along those lines where if you pay that off, it dramatically changes the trajectory of your life moving forward and it gets you out of debt. So now you can start building wealth instead of paying off interest. Then, as far as I'm concerned, if you did nothing else but that, then the bull market was a giant blessing in disguise, even if that's all you took out of it, right? Is to get out from under that. It's a huge win. And so, it's going to be a very personal decision that everybody needs to make for themselves because every single person on here is in a different financial place and position in their life, different circumstances, different age, different earning power. And at the end of the day, it's your money. So don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. Do what you feel is right for you
Yep.
when you feel it's the right time. So
Cool. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Cody. Appreciate it. All right, Ron, how can I help you out today? You're on mute, my friend. You're on mute.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you just mentioned taking out a loan on your Bitcoin. Where do you do that
I don't even know if I want to tell you because I
at?
don't think it's a good idea. I don't know because I don't do that. That got a lot of people in trouble in the last cycle. That's what people were doing on BlockFi and Celsius and things like that. And both of those went bankrupt and the people who had money in there lost all of that money. Right. So you'll start to see these services come out, but it will just be for Bitcoin and it will be through real banks or real institutions like Schwab or Fidelity or, these types of firms. And the main thing to do if you ever want to do that in the future is, and this is not you, this is just you as in the general you, everybody on here, is I would only ever take out a loan against Bitcoin to go buy some stable assets, meaning the S&P 500 index or real estate, multifamily real estate, something along the lines where you're not going to lose that money. The chances of losing it are slim to none. Because what some people did in the last cycle using those services is they would take out a loan against their crypto and they would go buy more crypto with it. And then guess what happens, right? They don't sell and then they lose all of their crypto, right? So it's something that I would only do if you believe that you have, again, you as in everybody here, have the emotional maturity to where you can do that responsibly over time. And frankly, there's not a lot of people that can do that, especially in crypto, because crypto is it attracts a high risk, high reward, opportunistic crowd, which is usually antithetical to the mindset that would be required to take out a responsible loan and put that money in a responsible asset. So that's just,
Okay.
again, advice for everybody.
Second question on your altcoins list. Things like AOIZ, Super, Beams, is that any changes in that area or should we look for your hot tips?
No, the first big accumulation phase of this cycle is over. That was over the last year, right? For those of you who've been here, we've been buying assets since January of 2023. It's almost 2 years ago. Started buying 2 years ago. So for those of you who are coming into the market now, you're coming in late, but the good news is that you're coming in right before the most explosive phase of the cycle where the biggest gains are. But buying in at, an asset that's gone up 2x from the initial recommendation, and let's say it goes up another 10x. Well, the difference between buying in at 1x and 2x is the difference between walking away with a 10x and a 20x, right? So just that initial doubling in price makes a 10x difference on the back end. And so that's why it's so important to get into these assets early. The other good news is because altcoins have really bled out so badly over March, is that a lot of the picks that I bought in 2023 are at or below those lows that I originally bought them at. And so at this point, though, if someone were brand new and they were looking to buy into altcoins, I would really just stick to the top 10 list that I have in there, because those are going to, I believe, all do really well. Where a lot of the other coins, there's one or two like Mango we covered today, which aren't going to make it. And, I know that from the very beginning, using the strategy I use, which is a lot of tokens, a little bit of money spread over a lot of microcap tokens. I know that 5% of those are going to be scams, or they're going to be rug pulls, or they're going to go away. Some of them are going to do next to nothing, but others are going to, potentially do 50 to 100 X's, and that kind of makes up for the difference. The problem is you never know which those are going to be. Like, I had no idea AOS is going to do what AOS has done, or that Super has done as well as it's done. But I think the primary 10 primary tokens that I still have in that portfolio, and I'll just bring it up now, are, because I did a review of it last month, are still awesome. Yeah, I mean, IMX, yes. Beam, yes. Super, yes. AOS, yes. Pith, Jupe, Nasana, GP, yeah, like 100%. Like, if I was going to spread money out over 10 tokens, these are still the 10 tokens that I would get. All of these, I believe, are legitimate projects that have 10 to 20x potential from here. And at this stage in the cycle, that's really the most anybody should expect. So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
and a lot of these down here, I think will do fine. A lot of these are micros. Some of them are going to not do anything, but that's why a little bit of money over a bunch of different projects, all I need is one or two of these to do a 50 to 100x, and it allows me to take advantage of all of the potential that's in here. So yeah, but I wouldn't recommend that at this stage in the cycle, and I'll probably update this text because, again, all of this stuff took place over a year ago. I'll probably just come in and say, hey, if you're just getting into the cycle, I would really just stick to these top 10 tokens right here, especially if you don't know how to use a DEX. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. Anything else, Ron?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, Mike.
Awesome, my friend. All right, thank you. Misha, jump on, brother. Good to see you.
Hey, Mike, how are you, my friend?
I just saw your comments. Yeah, my sniper rifle back there.
That thing's pretty badass for sure.
Yeah.
Well, perfect, man. I'm leaving my camera off here. I'm a little bit under the weather, but thanks for having me here. And yeah, man, I mean, my question kind of piggybacks off of probably what most people are already talking about here. But kind of for context here, let me share my screen real quick, if you don't mind. I'm putting together, whoops. Mike, can you turn on share screen real quick?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Perfect. So I guess the question would be, I've managed to kind of scrape together some, this is not working still. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so kind of in digging through everything, I've seen a bunch of people talking about Bitcoin top indicators, right? And I know you're starting to talk about altcoin top indicators. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of trying to put a list together of a bunch of smart people in the crypto space have mentioned these things being things that when they happen, these tend to be topish signs, right?
Yeah.
And then as more and more of this gets read over the course of a period of time, I kind of get to a point where it's like, all right, it's time to start looking at selling pretty seriously. Compared to most of it being green right now with one or two reds here or there. I've managed to find quite a few when it comes to Bitcoin, but I haven't found nearly as many when it comes to altcoins. These are some of them. These are some of the ones that you've kind of pointed out too. CoinSat being number one, like just, kind of things that you've mentioned. But I guess I was wondering if there's any other ones that you've kind of used in the past when it comes to alts specifically. I'm 100% in alts now compared to Bitcoin. I know it's kind of wait a month after Bitcoin about and start dollar cost averaging out. That's kind of,
I wouldn't wait a month. I'd wait like a week, if that.
Okay.
So here's what I think is happening. It's going to be interesting because every cycle we have, the previous cycle veterans get more savvy.
Exactly.
They
That's
have more
kind of the thought.
experience, right?
And
And
they try to front
so
run.
exactly. Exactly. And so the other side of it is every new cycle as Bitcoin goes up more brings in newbies, right? And
Yep.
so there is fresh meat for the grinder, if you will. And um I don't know which group is going to win out, but I would believe that everybody knows Bitcoin tops first, then it cycles into the major alts, then the mid caps and the micro caps, and then it's over, right? That's the narrative that everybody in crypto who's in crypto talks about and believes and understands is what's happened in previous cycles. And so I think that that's all going to happen. I just think it's going to happen faster.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I
Hey,
posted that
Phyllis, how
video
are
in the
you?
members area,
Well, how are you?
I'm doing okie
hold on.
dokie.
When I posted that video in the members area around the XLM and Litecoin top indicators, and I brought up TradingView, it's like those things topped a week or two after Bitcoin did. It didn't take long at all. So, but I think this is
Yeah.
great. I think what you're putting together, this spreadsheet is awesome. If you're willing to share it in the group, that'd be great. Or just send it to me and I'll
Yeah.
make a shared version of it for everybody, because I'm sitting here about to do the same thing, but I got to tell you, there are, from like a trading view perspective, there are no real indicators that I'm aware of that works uniformly to call the tops in each specific altcoin, right? I
Yeah.
wish there was a pi cycle top indicator that worked for every specific altcoin. That would be like the easiest thing in the world. I've back tested the pi cycle top indicator on altcoins to see if it would work, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know, there's Fibonacci retracements, Fibonacci levels, but I'm not an expert at that. I don't have enough experience to use those with any kind of conviction. And at the same time, it's not really possible to manage that over 60 different assets.
That's
Right.
yeah, exactly. That's kind
So,
of what you get to a point
yeah.
where you got different charts up and you're confused more than, you're more confused than you were at the beginning. And that's where I
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
with this style of approach, if I can just kind of take it with seeing more red than green. I know if I look at the charts, everything's going to be green, so I'm going to want to buy more and do the opposite of what I should do. But I'm more than happy to share this, of course. And if there's anything else that you think I should put on this, obviously let me know. And we'll go from
No,
there.
everything I'm looking at there is pretty spot on. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. My only other question was, did you by chance catch what happened with PAL AI earlier this week or no?
I did. Alex Becker actually made a post about it on his X account today, and I don't really understand what the cause was. Some kind of vote with the community that went a different way than people were expecting, and they got upset at butthurt about it and sold. But at the end of the day, it wasn't anything shady. It wasn't a rug pull. It was just like expectations were not met, I'm selling type thing.
Yep.
But it's already bounced, had a big 30-40% bounce back. So
Yep.
for me, and as Alex will say in the post that he made about it, that type of stuff is to be expected when you're playing with microcaps. It's the
Yeah,
highest
exactly.
risk, highest reward sector in Bitcoin. It's not for the faint of heart. And it just comes with the territory, right? So, yeah, but
Yep.
for me, I
Yeah,
haven't sold it. I'm not planning on selling it.
perfect. Yeah, what they were doing is they were going to merge with Fetch AI, which I guess in the merger would
Okay.
drive the price down. And so when the news came, everyone panic sold, and I actually picked some up on the scare,
Nice.
but I didn't know whether it was going to come back or not. So sounds like yeah, at least from what you're saying, kind of similar mindset.
Yeah, Cody in the comments saying Fett tried to buy it, and that tells him that it's a great project that they're interested in. So
Yeah.
makes, there's some logic there as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of hold on. At this point, I'm really holding on to what I've got, with the exception of Mango. I'm probably going to sell that today after reading the news we talked about at the beginning of this call, especially on the bounce that it's having right now. So
Got it. Cool, man. Sounds good. Appreciate you. I'll share
awesome.
this with you.
Thank you, brother. Likewise.
All right, later.
Yep. All right. Dr. Sergio, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Mike. How's everybody doing? Can you
Doing
hear me
great.
okay? Good,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So, I'm in a situation where I've been taking some profits to take care of some things and to get some assets. Like you said, I just worked, my portfolio worked out that way. Um, but, and my lifestyle, some things were going on, but I'm trying to figure out, I want to re-enter into Bitcoin. I know I did the big no-no. Um, but I did what I had to do. And so I'm at a point now, I'm trying to figure out when to re-enter. Should I just want to kind of get different people's views on if I should get back into the DCA. And I have a question about the plan. I don't know if you are going to answer that here or not, but um, I'm trying to figure out if I should just go ahead and just start DCA and again re-enter um, with Bitcoin, or if I should try to wait for retracement. I just don't. I'm just trying to.
Well,
I'm just trying to make a
that's the
decision.
question that everybody. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
if I knew how to do that, I would say, here's what I'm doing, but nobody really knows how to do that, right? So, I don't have an answer for you because I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can say we've
Sure.
had a 40% pump in 2 weeks, and so
Sure.
it makes sense that we're going to have a pullback of some kind. But I don't know. I'll just pull the chart up. I don't know how deep it'll be or how long it will last. So we're on the weekly chart here, right? And we've got a wick now, which means it got bought up to 94, 93K, and then
Yeah.
it's been sold off. So this show tells me it's kind of run out of steam right now. Now the question will be, will it come down and then go take its next leg up? On the MACD, it's really just getting started. It doesn't mean it can't start up and then roll over like this, but for where we are in this bull phase on the weekly, I would expect to see it continue to go up quite a bit. We're
Yeah.
getting a little bit on the overbought side on the RSI. So I have no idea. Which means at the end of the day, if I don't have any idea what an asset is going to do, then the best thing that I can do is just dollar cost average into it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think
and
that's the direction I'm going to go. You know, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate that. Also, another question. You think you'd be able to answer any question about the plan, like how to get into it? The situation is that my HODL bot, I got out of range about maybe almost 2 years ago, and
mm,
I thought that okay, I'm out of range only uh, because I got in when it was at the time the high was like 60, like something like that. But it's never gotten back into range. I don't know what's going on, and so I'm sitting here, nothing's happening. I've been just wanted to see if you had any insight on whether or not or how to get in touch with someone over there that can, because
yeah, you just have to reach out to their support team. I'm definitely not the person to ask on that stuff, but
yeah.
yeah, they would be able to help you out the easiest. Jump on their support calls that they do, and that would be your best bet for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I'm trying to close it out. I don't want to lose a whole lot of money closing that trade and resetting it. But okay, I'll reach out to them. Thanks
Cool.
a lot. I knew that probably
Yeah.
wasn't. This probably wasn't a place, but I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No
Thanks a
problem.
lot.
No problem, Doc.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Doc.
Yep. All right, Blake, go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Actually, before I ask my question, you had mentioned Chat GPT. Have you ever used Grok?
I do. I use Grok all the time.
Yeah, I love that compared to Chat GPT. So,
Yeah.
so my question is, I understand all the technical analysis stuff that you always do, which we appreciate and everything, but have you heard about the bill that Cynthia Loomis, the senator's put in?
Mhm.
So don't you think with all that happening, because I got my numbers here, that they want to do 1 million
Mhm.
Bitcoin over 5 years, which is 548 Bitcoin a day. They're mining about 450 a day right now, roughly,
Mhm.
with only 1.3 million left. So don't you think that could have a difference on what Bitcoin actually does? Like it's going to just go because it's going to wipe it out. So there won't be anything left for the most part, not including all the
Yeah.
ETF, BlackRock and Grayscale.
Well, yeah, for sure. I wrote about that in an email this week, actually, and the title of the email, it didn't go out to Inner Circle members because it was a promo for Inner Circle. But basically the email was all about, hey, where's the price of Bitcoin ultimately going to go? I think in the next 5 to 10 years. And for me, it's well north of $1 million. It's going to be anywhere from $1 to $10 million in the next 10 years. And I actually talked about that bill and what would happen if that gets passed and goes through, because what I think you're going to hear about in the next couple of weeks in December is that it's expected that a nation state, most likely Saudi, the Saudis have purchased 100,000 Bitcoin, and they're going to add that to their reserve and publicly announce that. And the moment that happens, that has already kicked off, but it has already kicked off game theory, and it's just going to kick it into overdrive. And that means basically game theory dictates that if you have a scarce resource that is of value to your well-being and or financial survival, the sooner you acquire that asset at the lowest possible price, the more you win. And so then it becomes a race. And right now, these countries have just been kind of, I don't know if Bitcoin's actually going to be a real asset or not. I think those days are over. Now this bill and what Trump has said is that Trump sees Bitcoin as a potential way to basically hedge the $35 trillion in debt that we have, right? And so I think that will happen. I think if the Saudis announce what they do, that's going to kick it into overdrive. And I think if the US bill passes, then that's going to force every other country in the world to do the same thing. And they're all going to try and buy it as fast as they can at the lowest possible price, because they know the price is just going to continue to go up every day that they wait. And that could push Bitcoin to easily $1 million the next year, within the next year of that happening, if not months after that happening. So that's certainly a possibility. And that's why I'm like, hey, just try to get as much Bitcoin as you can, because at the end of the day, it is going to be the scarcest resource on the planet. And there's going to be less than 200-ish thousand people out of the 8 billion that live on the earth right now that own one whole Bitcoin. So if you own one whole Bitcoin, you're going to be one of the 250,000 richest people on the planet. So, yeah, I agree with all you just said.
And then, so that means you're going to buy or hold your Bitcoin while you're selling all the alts and stuff, but you're not going to go out of Bitcoin ever then. That's what.
I don't know, because I want to see if that bill passes. I want to see what happens, right? If those things happen, that changes my game plan. Right now, my game plan is to sell all of my alts and everything if we get a cycle top indicator like Pi Cycle Top. I want to sell all that and go into cash, and then I'm going to save and hold on to all of that cash to buy whenever I start to get bottom signals. And at that point, I'm probably going to go and stick with 100% Bitcoin, maybe 50% Bitcoin or 75% Bitcoin and 25% Solana. And that's it. And that'll be kind of all I do with crypto from that point forward.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Alan, go ahead.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much. My question is, my wife and I are old and retired, so we've got a whole big basket of different investments. And we've been looking at some PCGS rated gold coins that we have. And they don't seem to be moving very well, so we're looking at flogging them to put them into Bitcoin. What about collectibles? What's going on with that in that market, culturally and economically?
Collectibles in crypto?
Well, I mean collectibles like PCGS graded collectible
gold.
coins, rare
Gold,
gold coins, rare silver coins, stuff like that.
Yeah, great question. So again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't tell you guys what to do with your money. That's something I'm not qualified to do. So I can't do that. But with that being said, let's just talk about gold in general, because I actually cashed in 6 figures in gold yesterday to buy more Bitcoin with. So I can tell you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And that could be a good decision. It could be a disastrous decision. I don't know. But let's look at just look at gold. Gold. Okay. So this is, let me get rid of this. This is the value of gold when priced in Bitcoin. So this is what gold has done when compared to Bitcoin. Right? So somebody was arguing with me via email the other day. And he was like, hey, Bitcoin's going to zero. You know, you're an idiot if you don't buy gold. And I just sent him this chart and I said, don't talk to me anymore because you don't have any idea what you're talking about. I was like, if you're telling people to go into gold after looking at this chart, you're frankly just an asshole, because you're destroying them financially. So the way that I look at gold is as a disaster hedge. In the past, it was a hedge against inflation and a store of value. Once Bitcoin became legitimized, Bitcoin became the dominant form of store value. It's just a better store value in every possible way that you can measure. And so then gold, physical gold specifically, became a disaster hedge for me against, you know, a grid down scenario, World War III, because a grid down scenario is the one thing that could potentially destroy Bitcoin, right? That's what it would take, is like a global grid down scenario to take out Bitcoin. And at that point, you know, gold would skyrocket. But I'm thinking
Yes,
if the grid,
that was our thought also.
Yeah.
yeah, so it makes sense. We didn't sell all of our gold, but my thought was, if that happens, nobody cares about money anymore in general, right? You now care about food, bullets, and
I would entertain it.
medications.
Like,
and
I think
water.
he's worth, like, I would just see, like, just say,
Hold on.
like,
Misha, I
just keep
think
the
you're lost.
conversation going and just let me know, like, just like entertain it and just say, hey, yeah, we're trying to do our best we can, like, with
Hey, Misha,
like reshuffling
who's talking right
people on
now?
our end to make it happen. Just like let him know we're trying to do our best and that we're a small company. We want to grow together with him.
Or Brian, maybe. There, it was Brian. Okay. Okay. So let me get back to my screen share. And you guys can unmute yourselves, please, if I accidentally muted you, trying to get everybody. There we go. So gold for me now is like, okay, it's the only reason I own it is if the grid goes down and we go to World War III, and, you know, okay, there's that use case for it. But I can't justify cashing out our future on the chance of an overall disastrous event, right? Like that would potentially be the death of and the end of life on Earth as we know it. It's a small use case. Is it important to have some gold? Yeah, but for me now, I'm buying gold bucks, the gold bucks, flexible dollars, and I'm silver, like stuff that you can trade and barter with and things like that. But from a store value perspective, this is Bitcoin saying it's now the king of the jungle from, you know, in that light. So for me, we're literally traded in 6 figures of gold yesterday for Bitcoin. More Bitcoin.
Sounds like a good plan. We've got the similar amount in gold, so we've been looking at what to do with it since it's just sitting there.
Yeah, I think diversification is important. You know, again, we didn't sell all of our gold, so I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't suggest anybody do that. I think it does still serve a unique purpose.
Wouldn't silver be better in that case, though?
It depends on what your use. Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking at it from a barter perspective, then I would say so, right? It's a smaller denomination. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great question. Great question. All right. Let's see here. Marcus, go ahead.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my question.
Yeah.
All right. I'm in Georgia,
And over a couple years ago, I put some money in Binance. Well, evidently Georgia doesn't accept Binance anymore by the end of this month. So how do I get it out? And second part of that is it even worth keeping it in Binance and dealing with Binance?
Are you referring to Binance.us or .com?
.us.
Okay, so you should be able to just log in and withdraw your crypto, right?
Right. Okay. So just go in and just connect it to my account and just pull it out.
Yep. You know, I would make sure you have accounts set up on Kraken and Coinbase, and you could put it all in US dollars and pull it into your bank account, or you could put it all in Bitcoin and then just transfer that Bitcoin over to Kraken or Coinbase or another wallet, whatever you'd want to do. So,
all right, now you lost me there because I'm new to this.
okay.
I bet
Okay,
so
cool.
you said,
Good to know.
so just you said take it out and put it in my account, but then you said Coinbase and Kraken.
Yeah. So Coinbase and Kraken are exchanges like Binance, but they're legal to use here in the United States, right?
Yeah, I have Coinbase.
And so, yeah, okay. So if you've got to get your crypto or your funds off of Binance, you've got two options. You can withdraw each specific asset and deposit it into Coinbase or Kraken or a wallet, right? If you wanted to store it on a wallet. Or you could just sell all of those assets right in Binance and sell it for US dollars and then withdraw that to your bank. Or you could sell it to US dollars and buy Bitcoin, potentially right there on Binance if they still allow you to do that, and then just transfer and withdraw that Bitcoin to your Coinbase or Kraken account. So those are your options.
So you think Kraken and Coinbase are probably the better two to be on?
They're the only real exchanges, big exchanges in the United States.
Okay.
I like Kraken the best, so I use Kraken for everything.
Because I got some Gemini too. I think I did it a couple years ago.
Gemini's there. They're just, yeah, Gemini's a good, you know, it's the third runner up. They're just nowhere near as popular as Coinbase and Kraken are. So,
all right, that'll work. All
okay,
right, thanks a lot.
awesome. Glad I could help.
All
You
right.
bet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sarnesh, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, it's Saransh.
Sarnesh. Okay, cool. What's going on?
Yeah, all good. How are you, Mike?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so my question was like a few months back, I invested a lot of money in Bitcoin as well as altcoins, the list that you had given us.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw that, the altcoins were not doing well. So I sold all of my altcoins and I, invested all of that money into Bitcoin. But
Cool.
now I'm thinking, should I, like you said earlier, altcoins are going to go up. So I was thinking, should I invest some money into altcoins again? So that's my, main thing.
Yeah. So again, can't tell people what to do with your money. I'll just show you a chart to look at. We kind of looked at this at the beginning of the call. So this is the Bitcoin. Nope, I don't want that one. I want Bitcoin dominance. So BTC.D is Bitcoin dominance. So we were looking at this. And if someone wanted to buy altcoins and do it at a time where they believe there's the least amount of risk involved, like, because Bitcoin could just keep going up for quite a while. If it were to come back up here and hit previous resistance, it'd go all the way up to 73% dominance, right? Which it could still do, and outperform altcoins. So if you're like, hey, when do I switch into altcoins? It would be when dominance breaks down through this trend line, right?
Okay.
So if you see Bitcoin dominance come down below this trend line in a pretty decisive way, then that would be the time to switch into altcoins. And then once you see dominance come down to this level right here, then that means that's another indicator that could say, alt season's over and it's time to start going into US dollars. Now, when it comes down and touches it, that doesn't mean you do it right there, because if we were to bring up the chart here and bring up Bitcoin, it doesn't call the top of the market. So if I were to try to line this up as well as I can, you can see here, dominance came, we had alt season right here. Dominance came, it first touched that resistance line, that bottom line right here, but then we had this entire trend up, right? This next leg. So will we get a leg like that? I don't know. But the bottom line is that dominance broke down right here. And so that's where, you could have switched to alts, gotten some really great gains right here, and then dominance bottoms out, which if this had been, it would have been a great signal to switch back over. But does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll have to again listen to this, but I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so just Bitcoin dominance here. This means the value of Bitcoin versus altcoins. And when the line's going up like this, it means Bitcoin is doing better than altcoins. And when it drops like this, it means Bitcoin is going down in value compared to altcoins. So when it breaks through this trend line, whenever that may be, then it makes more sense to go into altcoins at that point in time.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
great
Mike.
question. I'm sure a lot of people had that, so thank you. Bailey, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, longtime follower, first time caller. Appreciate you for everything.
Oh,
you do,
thank
man.
you. Yeah.
Rock.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Kind of two-part question here. I've heard what Dan Pena said about Bitcoin and maybe the world
Going to
finance.
zero.
Yeah, right. A, do you think that's ever really going to happen, even if we do find out who's behind it? B, curious to hear what you think about XRP and if it's ever going to flip Bitcoin.
Okay, so Dan Pena's an eccentric billionaire years ago, old guy, like Warren Buffett, didn't understand Bitcoin, and he would get on everywhere and be like, Bitcoin's going to zero. And he was wrong. So that's what you get for arrogance, right? When you think you know everything. So you're saying that the creator, Satoshi, is going to get unmasked or named, right? And then that's going to cause Bitcoin to drop. I think if people knew who Satoshi was at this point, he already would have been unmasked. It's better if he isn't. It's better for Bitcoin if he never comes out or if he's already died. So if he gets unmasked, and he has maybe a shady history, maybe the dude's just a jerk and he's got a history of bad behavior, that could cause issues. I think the bigger question then becomes is, does he still have control of his keys where he has, billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin? Because then that would be a big question mark. If he decides to sell it or whatever, what's that gonna do to the market? So if he gets unmasked and he still has control of his keys, then that could certainly cause some fear in the marketplace. I would take it as a buying opportunity. I think Bitcoin is bigger than any one person at this point. It's now the 7th or 8th largest asset in human history. It's decentralized. And so even if the dude gets lucky and still has control of his keys and starts to do a transfer from one wallet to another and demonstrating that fact, right? That, we'd see a decent sell-off and a scare, but I think the smart money move would be to use that as a buying opportunity. That's my take.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. Anything else?
Thoughts on XRP?
Oh, thoughts on XRP. Great. Let's bring up the chart. I assume you follow Blockchain Backer if you're in XRP.
I follow a few folks in the space, yes.
Okay. Because he's like the number one XRP analyst, right? So, all right. So let's bring it up on TradingView. Nope. So guys, when you're going through TradingView here, you got to pick a chart out here based on which exchange you're using, and you want the one with the longest history. So you can see Bitfinex has a much longer history. So the one thing I do like about XRP is that it's slowly moving up. It's building a higher foundation, slightly higher lows. So to me, it's the foundation is gaining in strength, which is good. let me get rid of this. Sorry. Just let me delete you. All right, let's do this. Okay, so the big question is, how high could it go? And I don't have the answer to that. You're looking at, if it hits previous cycle of roughly $2, it's at 76 cents right now. The next high above that is 3.30. So the potential gain from, if you were to buy in here, and it sounds like you've been sitting on it for a while, you're looking at 155% potential gain. If it goes up higher than that, then a 330% potential gain. Maybe it goes higher than that. I don't know. XRP is not doing anything. They don't have a story or a narrative. They just have a large user base and a fan base from the previous cycles. And that's all it has going for it. And the fact that there's no more legal stuff holding it down anymore. So those are the two big positives. But for me, you come over here and we're looking at a $43 billion market cap. I would just I'd rather have my money in smaller projects that have higher upside value than, 100 to 300% personally. I'm not in crypto for 100 to 300% gains, and again, XRP could go higher than that, but I just don't know. And it's not like there's a bunch of news coming out about it to make it seem super exciting. So I like the projects on my top 10 list better, because I think those have 10 to 20x potential from here, where I don't think XRP has that at all in any way, unless you've got information I don't have. But with the info I have, I don't see that happening. So, yeah.
Cool. Appreciate the feedback.
Okay, you got it. Awesome, guys. All right, that looks like the last question. I'm going to go through the chat here.
I got one more question, Mike. It's a real quick.
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
Real quick. Just your thoughts on Shiba. Just overall thoughts.
On Shiba?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look at Shiba. I think the biggest gainers this cycle are going to be meme tokens. I think this is the meme token cycle, just like last year was kind of like NFTs and stuff like that. So Doge is at 6, SHIB is at 11 with $14-15 billion market cap. I've got to bring it up on here to get. I hate it when tokens are like 0.00000001 because it just makes it impossible to do the math.
Yeah.
All right. So SHIB from where it is today to the last cycle. No, that's not the last cycle. Last cycle was up here. You would have another 250% to match the last cycle. A lot of tokens will do, and this, you're expecting the tokens to do a magnitude higher in the new cycle, right? So I'd expect Shiba to do 3 to 5x more than what it did in the previous one. But it's, a lot of it's being diluted by all the new meme tokens that are on the market now. Now it's competing with WIF and with Brett and with Pepe and, these other contenders, Peanut now, Bonk.
Right.
That have smaller market caps, which for me are going to have potentially higher upside, right? There's a reason I'm not investing in Doge right now, even though Doge, if we look at Doge, is an oscillator. It's going to have its moment in the sun, and when it does, it just goes fast, right? So here's what I think we've just seen with Doge. This pattern right here in this cycle,
Yeah.
I think we just saw right here. And so we're kind of like right here. If it's gonna play out in the same way, we'd be like right here in this cycle, and we could potentially see Doge go up to I don't know, $5, $3, $4, $5 from here. I certainly expect it to go higher than the previous cycle at 76 cents. And a lot of times it does like a 10x, so it could go to $7. And that would be a pretty nice, that'd be a pretty nice, 12, 13, 14x from here, which is saying a lot. But if, ideally you bought Doge back here at 12 cents and then now you're looking at 20x plus, right? So it will do well. It'll do well for sure. I just want to, for the heck of it, see how many weeks it took to go from the breakout to its high. So it looks like just 3 weeks. It went fast, 4 weeks. It went super fast. And then if we were to throw in Bitcoin. So Doge topped right here. So Doge topped after the Pi cycle top indicator went off, about 2 weeks late after the Pi cycle top indicator went off. So if I were to turn that on right here, I don't want that one. Oh, it's got too much noise in it. Right, so Pi cycle top indicator went off there. Doge peaked right here. So just like I said, Bitcoin peaks first. Pi cycle top indicator goes off over the next 2 to 3 weeks. All the alts do their thing in top, and that's exactly what Doge did right here. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
The issue is right now with that though is that Doge is taking off, but we shouldn't be anywhere near the end of this cycle, right? This cycle should go on another year. So I'm not sure exactly how to
follow. You think Sheave's
going to
follow this? You think Sheave's going to follow the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we got another year ahead of us, then yeah, it doesn't make sense for it to be breaking out this way. And if it continues to go up, then that's going to be an interesting sign that we'll have to follow. So yeah.
Cool. Thank
you. Chris, go ahead, my friend, and then we'll do Caesar and Josh. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Mike, great to see you as well. Sorry, I jumped on the call late. I had another call, but I'll watch the replay. So a portion of my crypto assets are in an iTrust Capital account. I rolled over some IRAs a few years ago, and they have a limited scope of what you can invest in. It's really like a top 30 coins or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that pool of money, majority, it's about 60% Bitcoin right now, Sol, Doge, and Sheeb.
Cool.
And so my thinking and plan is there's going to be a time when I start reallocating the Bitcoin down the list. And I guess my question is, what indicators should I be looking at for when that time has come? Or is that now, like to start kind of bringing that money down the line?
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. We covered this a few minutes ago, so it'll be in the recording as well. But it's okay. I'll show you it again because people have questions on this, right? So what on TradingView, you can bring up the BTC.D chart, and that stands for Bitcoin dominance. And as I mentioned earlier, when the chart is going up like this, that means Bitcoin is gaining in value over alts. When it goes down like this, it means alts are doing better than Bitcoin. So right here, we've seen Bitcoin doing better than altcoins. And whenever it breaks out of this little wedge here, and it breaks down below this trend line, then that would signal the start of alt season when alts are going to start to outperform Bitcoin. So you'd want to bring up Bitcoin dominance on TradingView. And the more you guys can learn how to start using this tool, I'm just totally self-taught on this. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but the more I use it, the more useful it becomes. And just create a little trend line and do your best to connect as many, of the bottom of these candles as you can, and then just watch it. And when you see it break down below, you'll see your alts will start shooting up to the moon, but just come here. Did it break below this trend line in a really decisive way? Then that's a chance that it is signaling the start of altcoin season. We got a little fake out right here, right? But if it breaks down significantly, then we know that's the best time to swap Bitcoin for altcoins.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then once the Bitcoin Pi cycle top indicator goes off, that's when you sell everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome,
no,
brother. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. And just like, thank you. I've started getting into reading charts because of you. So thank you for all you share,
Oh, cool.
man. It's been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome, brother. Anytime. All right. Caesar and then Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had two questions, and one is about Peanut. I actually read the email from the community and jump on it. I
Okay,
never,
yeah.
I never that emotional, but I do have disposable income for speculation like this. So I was wondering, if I understand you also invested. I know there's not a lot of fundamentals behind meme coins,
There's
but I
none.
wanted.
It's a meme coin. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm wondering, what's the attraction you felt for Peanut?
It's just pure speculation. It is literally gambling. It's going to the slot machine and putting your quarter in and hoping you pick a winning meme coin. So,
That's what that's what I thought.
there's not a lot of them that break out above $1 billion, $2 billion market cap. It's got a good meme, to it, meaning from the election stuff and the political nature of it. And so it has a good story that the populace, the zeitgeist is aware of. I bought in right around here, right around this price point. So I might go ahead and sell off 70, 80% of what I bought, because meme coins like this can pump and then it could come all the way back down and maybe retest this accumulation zone right here at 46 cents. I mean, this has only been out for a week. This is not a long history. This is like days of history, or it could keep going up from here, right? You have no idea what it's going to do. So for me, when it comes to meme coins, I typically put money in them and then I just let it sit there, because the big mistake I made, for those of you who've been here for a while, is I added Pepe into my portfolio here in 2023, like around here in this area. I bought Pepe, and no, I'm sorry, I didn't. I bought it right here. And I know that because I sold it. I was like, it's not doing anything. It's going down. And I sold it. And then it freaking does this the next week. And I lost out on a 10x gain. And then I've lost out on another 10x gain. So I put 10 grand into Pepe. I'd be sitting on almost $1 million right now if I hadn't freaking sold that token right here.
Yeah,
just in
I
Pepe.
was being too rational in my investment strategy. I was going through the real AI coins like Tao and things of that nature. But I'm noticing that, as you said, that the start of this cycle seems to be the meme coin. So I might follow the crowds with some speculation.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't chase the new meme coins like that are just out, like, because I've just done that in the past and I've gotten burned too many times. There's no reason to take more risk than is necessary, in my opinion. And so I think Pepe from here could do another 10x this cycle if we get a full cycle in, right? I think WIF could do 10, 15x. I think Bonk could do 10 to 15x, assuming we get a full cycle. So for me, Peanut was like, okay, I'm just going to throw some Vegas money in this and see what happens. I should have done it down here when Natasha found it. And she did, I think on the 5th or the 7th, right here at 11 cents, 7 cents, she posted. I should have put $1,000 in right there. I'd be sitting on 17 grand right now. But I didn't. I waited. So it is what
Is
it
there
is.
a way that I can, and you mentioned since I haven't gotten into meme coin territory whatsoever, is there a list of meme coins that you have posted on the channel, on the portal?
In my portfolio, there's some meme coins in the portfolio. Yeah, we've been in Bonk for a while. We were in Pepe until I sold it, which was dumb. That's why, guys, when there's a lot of tokens I put in the portfolio, I know that they're going to go down in value. But I also know that I'm not expecting those tokens to go up, those microcap altcoins, until we're in alt season, and we haven't entered that yet. And so I'm not selling any of them because I've gone through this before where I've sold the token that wasn't doing anything, and then all of a sudden it goes up 50x next week, and I'm like, So I just sit on them until the top of the cycle. And some of them, again, are going to go to zero. Others are going to do 100x, and you're never going to know unless you just keep your position. But if you come here and you go to categories, you can go to categories and then just scroll down here, or just come up here and click on memes. And so these are all the meme tokens right now. It just kind of gets rid of all the noise. But I wouldn't, for me personally, I wouldn't go past roughly MOG would be kind of the lowest I would go. This is a meme coin that I'm interested in because it has a really strong chart, and it's just about to break its previous all-time high. And when it does, it's going to potentially skyrocket. I might even put some money in MOG today, the way that it's going. So that would be, it looks like it's listed on Kraken. I don't know if that's for US residents or not. You always have to figure that out. And then if not, it would be Uniswap. So MOG looks like it's about to go nuts. So I might even.
Could you go back to the previous screen that you were showing on CoinMicroCap?
Yeah.
So so everything above $1 billion, above $1 billion, is that what you basically do, or?
I'm just saying, when you get below that, you know, or 500 million, you really start to get into high risk stuff that could go to zero.
Got it. Okay.
You know, like Pepe Coin is there, but you're just like, the level of risk goes up exponentially on meme coins once you get out of like the top 10 of them, which, you know, is right around $1 billion. So yeah, this would be the one that I'm interested in right now, that I've been following. And as you can see, it's almost going to break through its previous all-time high. And when it does, it's just probably going to explode and do another 2 to 3x pretty quick, right? So this could be a good potential play right now.
Got it. And a completely different question. This is my last question.
Okay.
On layer ones for this cycle, like Sui, right? I got burned in the past with layer ones, Solana being one of those at a point. So I'm kind of away from the, layer ones, but any opinion on Sui in particular?
Not really. I haven't studied the project. I don't know anything about it. I didn't buy it because it wasn't listed on any exchanges. It wasn't even on like any DEXs last year when I was first looking at it. It wasn't on any centralized exchanges, so now it's on Coinbase and Kraken at least. But for me, it's a $10 billion market cap. I just don't know anything about it. And it's like, my portfolio is big enough. I can't be in every project. So I just don't have an opinion on it at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. All right, Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. So just, I know we've touched on the Bitcoin D chart enough, but just quick question. I have everything. I'm new to altcoins, have everything in Bitcoin right now. And I understand like it's not financial advice, but if you were me, just so, I can kind of understand your perspective, would you kind of watch that Bitcoin D indicator chart and then, transfer the majority of the Bitcoin into your top 10? Would that be your approach?
If you want to take risk, if you want to speculate and take risk, if it were me, and if I had, 7 figures in Bitcoin right now, and I've had that since the last cycle, I personally wouldn't touch it. I would just be happy with where I'm at, knowing that I've got whatever I've got in there and not risk it, because I think it's dumb to risk an asset, especially if you got in last cycle at a good price. I would potentially take some cash from my bank account in the business and maybe put 50 to 100K in altcoins to speculate with, right? But for me, I've just played this game so many times, I'm comfortable with it. But it is also high risk. Like it's also high risk. So I pay attention to this stuff every day for 1 to 2 hours a day. And if somebody's not doing that, then I wouldn't screw around with altcoins unless somebody's doing that with extra money that they've made, but I wouldn't risk the golden goose, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's definitely what I'm kind of going back and forth on. So, yeah, that definitely hits home. I appreciate that
Yeah,
response.
it's like you've got the treasures. Don't risk the treasure. Just take new fiat dollars that are going down in value and risk that. If anything, right?
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, guys. Great call. And we covered a lot today. So I hope that was helpful and educational for everybody. If you've got any questions, feel free to put it in the community chat. I'm going to be sending out an email here later today with the replay for this call, an update about Mango, and I might throw Mog into the portfolio today as well. And if I do, I'll put that in there also, but you guys can go check that out on your own as well. Looks like it has a really strong chart right now. So I would take a look, and that's available, it looks like, on Uniswap. But awesome, guys. Well, great call. Appreciate y'all very much.
Mike,
And
quick
we'll see you
question.
soon.
Quick
Yeah.
question for you. What's the toy on your coffee table behind you?
That is my SIG 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. I've got a Nightforce 2.5 to 20 on there and a Dead Air titanium suppressor.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go cite that in next week with my buddy Steph. So yeah.
Very nice. You got one in every room?
No, it's not. It's more decoration. I've got this. No, I got that one on the mantle as well. AR. But more fun in the man cave, putting it together and tinkering really more than anything else. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Thanks for a great
Thank you,
call.
brother. You appreciate it, guys. Thank you, Bob. All right. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you soon in the community.